All right, hi everybody. I'm here with one of my individual one-on-one clients, Katie, and Katie and I have been together, working together for about 2.5 months or so, coming up on that 3-month mark here. And Katie, I'd love if you could introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what attracted you to working in with a online coach.
Yeah. Hi, Jeremy. Katie Bartles. Um, I, I was in a spot where I think I was mentally ready to commit to making the right choices for my health. And knowing, seeing your content online made me curious, and so I think that combination of being ready and being curious
Yeah.
led me to being open to considering online coaching. And then, of course, once we met and, you described the type of coaching and support that you provide, I realized that not only was I ready, and my curiosity allowed me to realize that, what you offered was really what I needed at this point in time. So, yeah, it was kind of the stars aligning, so to speak.
Sure. And I know your backstory a little bit, Katie, but would you mind sharing some of the different things that you've tried in the past with your efforts to get into shape, and then kind of touch a little bit on how what you and I are doing is a little bit different than what you have tried in the past.
Sure. I have, off and on kind of committed myself to an exercise program, probably not as consistently as I should. I have off and on tried different types of things to curb my weight loss or achieve weight loss. All of the programs that you can think of, Weight Watchers, Noom, Profile by Sanford,
Uh,
all of those programmatic lifestyle change programs. I've also tried what, some people would call fad diets. Now I recognize some of these diets work for other people, but not for me. Keto, paleo, whole 30.
yeah,
I even did this crazy HCG diet. And the reality of it for me is that, those things just aren't sustainable. And I really needed some sustainable approaches to weight loss that I can carry with me, as I, in my everyday life. And so that I've tried all of those things, and I think the thing that I appreciate most about, the services that you offer and the way in which we work together is that, the, the tactics are sustainable. And, we talked a lot about, for me, the need is kind of accountability, and so that is, more than any of those programs or any of those, what I will call a fad diet. What I needed was sustainable tactics and that source for accountability, which has been part of my success.
sure. And looking at fitting what we're doing now into a sustainable way, uh, in your professional life, you've got a role and a leadership role that comes with all the stressors of that. You're currently going to almost wrapping up your MBA. You're busy. You've got a lot of stuff going on. So I know that that resonates with a lot of people who maybe are watching this, or a lot of people who I have the opportunity to speak with. Can you kind of talk a little bit about how what you and I have been doing, how that fits in with all the other stuff that you have going on in life?
Yeah, I think that, just to the point of like, these are not dramatic tactics that I'm trying to employ. They're very simple, sustainable. As long as you can get to the grocery store, you
Uh,
should have no trouble, having surrounding yourself with the types of foods that will help you to achieve your health goals. The schedule is simple. I've run marathons in the past, and I've always said, like, if I have a schedule to follow, it will get done. And so, having that schedule of, when are the right times for me to nourish my body, what are the types of things I should be putting in my body and at what times, that having that simple schedule and meal plan has helped me to achieve some success. You can, you can do it being a very busy individual, and yet make those changes still very, very achievable and very sustainable.
Yeah, and speaking of the results and diving into that a little bit, you and I have an opportunity over the last almost been 3 months of talking a lot about both scale wins and non-scale wins. And I know coming in, you had shared with me that it, in your weight loss in the past, specifically in the last like 5, 6 years, it was it's kind of always stuck where you would lose 5 to 7 pounds, but it was always hard to get past like that 7 to 10 pound mark. And for where we're at right now, just sharing, we just crossed the 15-pound mark down. And I know that you've shared with me a lot of other non-scale wins. So what are some of the other things that you've noticed that getting into this type of program has helped outside of just the success in weight loss so far?
The biggest, by far, most important non-scale victory for me has been tackling my extremely destructive relationship with the scale and my weight. One of the things that I am so thankful for is you offered up options for, how often should I be checking in on what the scale says. And to some degree, you encouraged me, if I was willing and open to consider weighing in daily. And that scared the hell out of me. But really, it was through those daily weigh-ins that I was able to tackle just really what has been my barrier in the past, which is get on the scale once a week. You've worked really hard for 7 days. Back when I was in my 20s, I would see 5 pound weight loss in the first week. Now that I'm in my late 40s, I don't see 5 pound weight loss in a week. And when I don't see maybe even a half a pound or a pound, it made it feel like I did all of that hard work in those 7 days for virtually no result. And what that made me realize is, that would cause me to just give up. And that's where I would get to that, maybe get to 5 to 7 pounds, but I had worked so hard to get there that it was so frustrating. And so that's a really significant non-scale win, is that, I realize, and I've come to set expectations for myself that, it's not, just because I weighed in at a pound higher today doesn't mean that I, wasn't consistently following the plan. And again, progress versus perfection is something that you've preached, to not beat myself up when maybe I had a day that it didn't look like it does on a piece of paper on our plan. And those things are going to happen. So those have been some really big non-scale victories mentally for me that have helped me to remain consistent with the plan and work to achieve progress versus perfection.
Sure. I like that a lot. And I appreciate you going along with some of the uncomfortable things that I've asked you to do. And it goes to show that, if you're putting in the right work for your body, the results will come. And you're obviously seeing that both on the scale, but also a lot of mindset. And I know you've even touched on that, you've noticed differences at work, in the way that people have been noticing how you've carried yourself and how you've presented yourself even in a work setting.
Yeah, I'll elaborate on that a little bit. I think the pandemic has been really challenging on everybody. I went from, traveling pretty regularly and connecting with colleagues and coworkers and peers to doing everything virtually. And, I realized that as the pandemic impacted my relationships with people, but also with my, my how I've cared for myself, my physical, my fitness, my nutrition. It really did have an impact on me and how I was showing up at work. And as I started to achieve some progress as we worked together on this journey, it's really almost made me more optimistic, more positive. And it was actually recognized by my leadership team in that, I'm showing up differently at work, in that I have a much more positive outlook, and personally just enjoying, being around people and not feeling reclusive. And so that's been, I mean, that's been a really great non-scale victory from the perspective of, yes, I've lost some pounds, but I've also had kind of an increased sense of self-worth and confidence.
And to talk about non-scale wins, it's really cool to be able to see how that really does translate into so many different aspects of life other than just how you feel in the morning getting on the scale.
Yeah.
The final question that I would love to touch on, Katie, is if someone's watching this and they're maybe a little bit hesitant of working with an online coach, and particularly me and the style of program that you and I are working with, what would be your advice to someone who maybe has tried a lot of different things in the past and they're just not quite sure if this would be the fit for them?
I think what I have appreciated most about what you've brought to this experience is that you not only have challenged me and perhaps pushed me out of my comfort zone at times, but you will also um, suggest things at certain times when I didn't even know I needed them. So, for example, at one point, I was feeling a little bit like I might have been veering from, the plan. And I think you suggested like, hey, maybe, send me, your pictures of what you're eating for the next 3 days. And that really, I noticed how that got me on track. And then I remember feeling that way one other time. And I actually then said to you, if it's okay, I'm going to send you pictures of my food for the next 3 days, because I knew that was what I needed. And I think for anybody who is, the reason why I think this relates to your question is because for anyone who is feeling skeptical, is it's not a program that is so rigid and defined that you can't ask for what you need, and that you can't expect that Jeremy will not sense what you're maybe needing at any given time to ensure that the program can be successful for you. And that's, to some degree, some other programs can be somewhat rigid and inflexible. And I think what I've appreciated about most is, we meet weekly, and you kind of, ask me about where I'm at, ask me about how my week went, ask me about what I have what I expect to be upcoming, and you kind of adapt and tailor the program to whatever it is that I need. And so, what I need may be different from what another client might need, but I think you've been really great about being flexible, and offering up solutions that meet the needs of the individual that you're coaching. So I really appreciate that most.
Sure, and I think that is the biggest difference. Whether someone's choosing to work with me or finding a different program, is the tailored approach. What you find online just because it worked for your cousin's neighbor doesn't necessarily mean that's the exact same approach, and that means a lot. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, thank you for taking a little bit of time. I know that your story resonates with a lot of the type of people that I talk with, being a busy professional, specifically in a leadership role, and the stressors that and the time constraints that comes with that. Plus, you adding your additional schooling on top of the mix, and still being able to see some really good success both on and off the scale. So I appreciate some extra time today, and thank you.